Alright guys, so Avengers Endgame is here, and man, was it good. It's been a long wait after Infinity War. Infinity War I thought was really good, and man, is Endgame pretty good. So, I'm gonna do like a full, I don't know, I guess I'll call it review, but I'm really gonna probably talk about things that I just liked about the movie. There's not really much I didn't like. There's not really a lot I could talk about in the negative aspects of the movie, but yeah, I'm gonna be going full in-depth spoilers and stuff like that, so if y'all don't want that, then well, go see the movie, because cats are wilding out, like, on Twitter and stuff, trying to intentionally spoil people. I'm seeing on, like, Reddit, like, on completely unrelated, like, subreddits, like, people are, like, leaving, like, the full synopsis of the movie, basically, leading off with who dies, who lives, all types of craziness. So, alright, let's get into it. First off, again, I thought the movie is fantastic. It picks up right where Infinity War left off, which I think is cool, kind of showing Hawkeye. Now, since Hawkeye is literally the first thing shown in the movie, I have to start out and say, I thought Hawkeye was incredible in this movie. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't know what it is, I just really resonate with, like, kind of like the like, almost like old killer that's like done, like he's like, I'm done. Completely on the edge and stuff, like Man on Fire, like Denzel, Creasy and Man on Fire. Ooh, man, is that the best. I thought Hawkeye in this movie was similar, something like, I don't know, Liam Neeson and Taken, I feel like, or if you guys have ever seen, like, the Korean film The Man from Nowhere, kind of like a similar concept. Like, Hawkeye in this movie just, like, getting stuff done, and, like, as Ronin, like, he was cool with that sword. I really liked Hawkeye throughout the movie. Even like, when they get their plan to kind of like, use the Pym particles and stuff like that to kind of like go into the quantum realm and like kind of, go back in time to kind of get Infinity Stones to undo what Thanos did. And it's like that, they have to do like a test run, and Hawkeye's just like, I'll do it. I'm in. Let's go. Like, I don't know, I just loved it. And then like, him and Black Widow going to get the Soul Stone and eventually, leading the Black Widow's sacrifice. And, like, the way Hawkeye was just, like, dead set, like, I'll do it. Like, after the stuff, he did as Ronin, he's like, yeah, I don't need to be alive anyway. But, like, Black Widow ended up taking the sacrifice there. That was really good. It's like, as soon as, like, they left off to go get the Soul Stone, like, you could kind of see what was going to happen there. And then, like, Hawkeye does have his family, we knew about that since Age of Ultron. And, I mean, Black Widow, the only thing I'll say, I guess one of the small negatives of the movie I have is that, like, so Black Widow does her sacrifice, right? She jumps off the cliff, so that Hawkeye could get the Soul Stone. But, like, there's a pretty, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5-minute scene afterwards where they're kind of, like, mourning over the loss of Black Widow. Like, once they all arrive, with all the Infinity Stones. Like, they got it all, they're all good to go. But, like, after that, like, during the really long emotional ending, like, after the battle is won and everything, like, they don't really, like, mention Black Widow, because obviously, Iron Man, Tony Stark, he does sort of, sacrifice himself to, do the snap with the gauntlet, and he dies, and then, like, so much of the end of the film is just kind of centered around, Tony Stark's funeral, his send-off, but, like, they kind of, it's almost like they forgot about Black Widow at that point, like, because she's been around since Iron Man 2, so she's one of the longest tenured, like, characters in the Marvel Universe. Like, it's like, Tony Stark, Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was in Iron Man 1, and then it's like, The Incredible Hulk, the second film, did have Bruce Banner, but it was Edward Norton playing him instead of Mark Ruffalo, and then after that, we go into Iron Man 2 with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, so really, like, and then even, like, in Iron Man 1, it was Terrence Howard that was playing War Machine, but then by Iron 2, Don Cheadle took over. So Don Cheadle and Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, they've been around since, like, the beginning. And, like, I obviously understand why Iron Man's death completely overshadows it, but boy, does it. Like, that's completely the focus. I guess I probably got, too bit ahead of myself, but I don't know. I'm just talking about things I really liked anyway. I thought Captain America was great in the movie. So many good scenes with him. Like, so when they go back in time to kind of, collect the Infinity Stones, like, two things with him. One, them kind of setting up, like, the redo of the elevator scene from the Winter Soldier. I was so excited for that. Like, seeing them in the elevator, like, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Cap is about to put him to school again, crossbones or whatever. You about to get your butt whooped again, my boy. But then, they kind of incorporated that little, Captain America Hail Hydra thing in there. Oh, man, was that a great scene. And then he kind of walks out of the elevator with the smirk. That was really good. And then, of course, then he encounters, the younger Captain America from Avengers 1, from the battle at New York. Now, I don't know. I guess this scene, first off, it was amazing that the two of them would spar like that, right? Love that. But I did kind of feel like, the Endgame Captain America should have really put the hands on the Avengers 1 Captain America for a couple reasons. Number one, so, the Endgame Captain America, the movie begins, they head down, take down Thanos, and then, like, we get a 5-year time skip, right? So, like, after this 5-year time skip, I'm presuming that Captain America has not been in, like, heavy combat, so he has to be fresh. I doubt Captain America has gotten rusty. That doesn't, I wouldn't say that feels like his character, right? But at the same time, the whole, like, whatever it takes, like, he's ready. So then, on the other hand, so we have, Endgame Captain America, completely fresh, has not, like, had, like, critical injuries. So, like, Iron Man, right? He had a significant injury he sustained in Infinity War, right? Like, at the beginning of Endgame, Iron Man is, like, a skeleton. He looks, like, really, like, he looks like a crackhead or something. He's, so injured and so, like, not in a good place. Then we have, Captain America, completely good. And the Avengers 1 Captain America, he had been fighting for, like, 2 days straight. Now, I know, again, it's Captain America, right? Like, he's, not, like, a normal person. But Captain America did get rocked a little bit in Avengers. Like, all that fighting against some aliens and stuff, like, when he went into the bank to save those people, and then, like, the one Chitauri shot down the grenade, and, like, he gets blown out of the bank, like, lands on the car, and, like, he's in pain. He took damage there. So, like, then he gets up, they finish up the fight, and then he goes back into the skyscraper, and it's, oh, boom, I'm gonna fight myself now. Like, I felt like Endgame Captain America really should have put the hands on him. Now, my boy Fabian did mention to me that, like, Endgame Captain America, like, it's not his goal to, like, he wasn't trying to really, like, take down Avengers 1 Captain America, right? Because the Avengers 1 Captain America, he was under the assumption that the Endgame Captain America was Loki. So he was really, actually putting in the moves to try and take him down, whereas the Endgame Captain America, he kind of just wanted to get out of there with, the Mind Stone, Loki's scepter. So, if you do kind of think about it like that, it does make sense. I mean, regardless, I thought it was a fantastic scene, and, like, it does kind of, play around with that one joke. So, like, Captain America, Iron Man, and Ant-Man, and Hulk, they all go to New York in 2012 to get, 3 of the Infinity Stones that are there, right? Hulk goes to get the Time Stone they presume it's from Doctor Strange, but it was actually, what is it, the Ancient One or the Great One? I always forget the name, but, he goes to get the Time Stone from her, and then Ant-Man and Iron Man, they're going to get the Tesseract, the Space Stone, and then, Captain America, his job is to get the Mind Stone, and, like, kind of, like, they arrive at the skyscraper, like, Tony Stark's tower that he built, like, at the beginning of Avengers 1, they get there, and then, like, they're kind of, like, cracking jokes as the Avengers, like, had just beaten Loki, that scene where they're kind of standing triumphant over Loki, and, like, they're kind of, like, making jokes about Captain America's ass, and Ant-Man is like, as far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass. Like, I love, Ant-Man is fantastic in this movie. I don't know, Paul Rudd is just, I love him. I love him. Fantastic. I thought he really was good throughout a lot of this film. And, like, it's a huge role. Like, Ant-Man is a big reason why they were actually able to get this done. Because, without him, the Pym particles explaining about the quantum realm, like, they wouldn't know to go back in time. Because even when they bring the idea to Tony Stark, you know, what, like, I don't know, like a half hour, 40 minutes into the film, at first Tony's like, no, dog, it doesn't work like that. We can't just do that. And then, you know, he kind of looks into it, you know, basically discovers or creates time travel, and then boom, we're rolling. So, like, thinking about a lot of the other characters in the film, like Thor, I thought Thor was very funny, but again, I don't think this is a negative about the movie in any way. Just me personally, I'm like a huge fan of Chris Hemsworth as, you know, Thor in the MCU. And, like, you know, he completely lets himself go after being the one to deal the finishing blow to Thanos at the start of the movie, right? Because, you know, Captain Marvel shows up. They eventually decide, you know, let's go get him right now. Let's go roll up on him. So right at the start of the film, they go to Thanos. They easily subdue him because, you know, he snapped once to get rid of half of the people in the universe, and then apparently he does a second snap to destroy the Infinity Stones, so that people cannot use them. As he says, you know, at that point, after doing what he felt was like his, you know, righteous goal or whatever, all that was left was temptation. So he destroys them like that. So of course this is a severely weakened Thanos at that point. And Thor kills him after they find out that, you know, the Infinity Stones are destroyed. And then in the 5-year time skip, you know, Thor basically completely lets himself go. He's an alcoholic at this point. He's gotten, like, fat, which is, like, you know, really surprising. And, like, just, like, he has no confidence. Mentally, he's destroyed by, you know, his mother's death, you know, Odin's death, Loki. Most of the people of Asgard were killed by Thanos. And then I'm sure a good amount of them were probably snapped away afterwards. So a lot of the people of Asgard, like, really get obliterated. So Thor is just not doing too good. Now, I thought, like, he had a good subplot. It led to, like, a really nice moment with Thor and his mom, you know, because while Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Ant-Man go to New York in 2012 to get those 3 stones, Rocket Raccoon and Thor head to Thor the Dark World, that movie, to get the Ether, which was the Reality Stone, which is inside Natalie Portman, you know, Jane Foster. And of course, that is basically the moment, the time frame where Thor's mother is killed. And Thor does have, like, a really good scene with his mom where, like, she kind of, like, really helps him, like, get over some of his issues. So that, you know, then once it goes to the next part where Thor is involved in, you know, that leads into the final battle, and he's actually, you know, able to do battle with Thanos. It was cool that he basically calls Mjolnir back, you know, the hammer which was destroyed by, is it Heli's or Hera, whichever one it is, his sister. In Thor Ragnarok, she destroys the hammer. But Thor basically gets it from, you know, Thor the Dark World. He steals it from himself in that movie and then heads back to the present with the hammer. Then, of course, you know, in the final battle against Thanos, you know, he's doing battle. He's got the hammer and he's got the Stormbringer, which is really cool to kind of, like, see him kind of using both. And then, of course, you know, we know where that goes with, like, you know, the theater I was in, one of the huge moments, you know, when, you know, Thanos is battling against Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. And, like, he kind of, Thanos beats their ass. Like, I would say I was, like, I wanted to see a little bit more of, like, you know, kind of like the 3, like, really strong, like, Avengers, you know, from the beginning. You know, Hulk, obviously, is ridiculously powerful, but he's, like, out of control and stuff, right? So, like, I really wanted to see that be a long, drawn-out battle, but it was pretty short. It was pretty quick. Thanos pretty easily takes down Iron Man. Iron Man kind of gets knocked out by, like, you know, Thanos basically uses Iron Man as a shield to block against an attack from Thor. And then Thor kind of gets beaten down pretty bad too. And Captain America actually, you know, starts to wield Mjolnir, the hammer, you know, which we did get kind of like a hint at that in Age of Ultron when they're all trying to lift up Thor's hammer. None of them can, but then Captain America goes to, and it actually does shake a little bit. So it's even great because Thor's looking on and he's like, I knew it! I knew he could do it! And that, let me tell you, that was like one of the most exciting, thrilling parts of the movie to me. Like, when Captain America is fighting Thanos and he's using the shield and Mjolnir, and, like, the way he's, like, able to, he throws his shield, it hits Thanos, it bounces back, and then Captain America, like, smashes it with Mjolnir, and, like, he's just bodying Thanos for a little bit. It's really cool to see. Like, that scene was fantastic. I mean, that whole exchange was great, you know, because that's right after they collect all the time stones. The Hulk basically snaps to bring everyone back, but then, like, you know, it's kind of the thing as Iron Man says, like, you know, we mess with time, well, time fights back. you know, Nebula. It's this whole thing where Nebula ends up kind of getting swapped out with her 2014 version because, you know, whereas all the other characters were going to get all those other Infinity Stones, War Machine and Nebula go to get the Power Stone. They basically steal it from Star-Lord right at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and then that's where Hawkeye and Black Widow, they head to, what is it, Vormir or something like that, to go get the Soul Stone, you know, in that same time period. Well, you know, the Thanos, basically from Guardians of the Galaxy 1, he kind of catches wind of all this through Nebula's memory, and then, you know, she kind of swaps out with the Nebula that was with Don Cheadle, you know, War Machine, and then through that, Thanos is basically able to end up in the future, along with the Avengers after they, you know, kind of finish, you know, they kind of fix things. Thanos ends up destroying the whole Avengers complex with his spaceship, and then, like, he kind of warps down, and he just sits there waiting for them. That's so good. When Iron Man and Captain America, they walk out of, like, the building, Thor is just standing there staring Thanos down, and then, like, the battle, like, they're getting ready to do the battle, like, oh, like, the tension, like, that is, like, whew, like, there's that, and then the moment when, like, so, like, you know, they do a lot of tests to see that the time travel works. They have, like, a large planning period to kind of, like, you know, determine, like, you know, all their interactions with the different Infinity Stones, what was the best point to go get the stones and stuff like that. And then, like, you know, that scene where they're all walking out, like, in the quantum suits or whatever, they're walking to go, like, do the mission, go back in time. And, like, as they're all walking up, it's like, yo, like, the anticipation there, like, I'm in a mood, for, like, in anime, I feel like I've had that a lot. Like, you know, when Goku goes Ultra Instinct for the last time in the Tournament of Power, and, like, him and Jiren are having that, they have, like, a 4-minute long stare-off. And it's like, I'm like, you know, for a year we've built up to this, and they're about to go, it's going to be so good, like, they're about to go at it. Like, I'm being super hyped about that. You know, I remember, like, in Naruto, there was a time when Itachi showed up, like, out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm ready for this. You know, anime gives that to me all the time, but movies, not really quite as much. Like, I remember one of the most excited I ever was in a movie ever was The Dark Knight Rises, because, you know, The Dark Knight is, like, one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. And then, like, you know, I don't know, the hype for me of, like, eventually seeing that Bane versus Batman fight. And then, like, at the end of the movie, like, when Batman and Bane are about to face off for the final time, like, just being so excited, like, for that last fight. Like, that like anxiousness, that anxiety, that like real like adrenaline, the energy. Like I got the same feeling a couple times here in Endgame. Like Infinity War, I thought Infinity War before this one was easily the best Marvel movie. I thought it was fantastic. You know, one of the things about Infinity War that's so good is it is moving so fast constantly. Like because of the fact that Thanos is basically collecting all of the stones in one film, there's just only so much time. Like, he's going everywhere. There's battles every 5 seconds, craziness. Obviously, Endgame is structured differently, where, because it's almost like it's one film split into two, really. Like, you could literally go, you know, watch a double feature of Infinity War and Endgame, and it's like the same film. Like, I believe the films were actually filmed at the same time, too. Like, it was all, like, you know, both of them were filmed like back to back like that, because like I know Endgame was actually filmed before Captain Marvel was. Infinity War just is like, you know, fast paced, like action all the way through, whereas Endgame, you know, starts out kind of slow, and we're kind of like rebuilding back up to the huge monstrous like finale with like all the like everyone comes back, like 2 wars clashing, all the characters, like tons of in-jokes and references to the earlier like Marvel films. Just really so fantastic all the way through. Just like a real treat watching the movie. I mentioned Captain Marvel right now. I actually, okay, here's a surprising thing. I actually really liked the Captain Marvel movie, but like obviously like for me, I don't like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I just think she's not, number one, she's not charismatic. Like, she does not have screen presence like Robert Downey Jr. or something like that, right? Like, I don't know. Like she's just there, like, really kind of annoying. Like, I don't know. I don't really feel Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. And honestly, I think one of the things that helps Endgame out a lot is the fact that Captain Marvel basically is not in the movie. Like, she shows up at the start, she saves Tony Stark and Nebula. Then, she's acting all bad, like, all right, well, I'm about to go kill Thanos, and there's like, okay, well, we'll all go do it. they get rid of Thanos, and then she's basically gone until she shows back up to kind of like she really helps out by destroying Thanos' ship when she returns at the end of the movie. And then, you know, she does have a good fight with Thanos. Like, you know, I like the way she was fighting. She was kind of giving Thanos the business until Thanos, like, kind of like, he has to complete an Infinity Gauntlet. He pulls out the Power Stone to knock Captain Marvel back. Like she did good there. But, like, I felt like one of the strengths of the Captain Marvel movie, to me, it was Sam Jackson, right? Like, you know, I really like Captain Marvel's movie, but it was because of Sam Jackson. For me, Sam Jackson's a GOAT. Like, you know, there's not a movie I could think of with him in it that I did not like. If he has significant screen time, it's a good movie to me. Like, he just has it. Like, Sam Jackson completely carried Captain Marvel, in my opinion, for me, all the way through. So I was enjoying the whole thing because of him. And then, you know, like, I feel like if Captain Marvel had been focal point of Endgame, that might have been a mistake. You know, again, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Brie Larson. Like, you know, for example, like Scarlet Witch, right? So in the final battle, she fights Thanos and she bodies Thanos. She puts him in a body bag, basically. And like that, like, see, I like it's Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. I thought she was great. Like, because, you know, remember at the end of Infinity War, basically, you know, Vision gets killed. You know, first she kills him, but then Thanos uses a time stone to kind of reverse time, and then after that, you know, he removes the Mind Stone and ends up killing Vision in the process that way. And then, like, her trying to get her revenge, like, I was really down for that, as she's, like, you know, pulling Thanos' armor off and really, like, smacking him around with her energy. I thought that was fantastic. It was nice to see Valkyrie did return, because, like, that was a big question, like, with me and a lot of my friends. Like, we were wondering, because, you know, Valkyrie is a beast, right? And, like, Thor Ragnarok, like, she's really strong. And then, like, Infinity War starts out, and she's on that ship, and then, like, it kind of opens up, and, like, she's just nowhere to be seen. Like, where is Valkyrie? What happened to her? So it was nice when she shows up early on in Endgame, and then obviously, you know, she is there fighting in the final battle. I did really like that. I guess, obviously, you know, what Thanos does is he'll take out, like, 50% of, you know, people wherever he attacks or whatever. So, you know, Valkyrie must have been part of the 50% of Asgardians that he let go, which, you know, I guess that does make sense. But unfortunately for that 50% of Asgardians he let go, probably then, you know, 50% of that number, too, then got snapped away. So that was a bit unfortunate. Talk about a lot of the other characters. Black Panther. So, like, when everyone gets revived, like, you know, because they get brought back because Bruce Banner, you know, the Hulk, he kind of wields the gauntlet after they reassemble it. He, you know, kind of snaps his fingers. That's when Thanos attacks. And a little bit of time passes before everyone kind of re-arrives, right? You know, Doctor Strange basically uses portals and gets, like, everyone basically to come back. But I love how it's Black Panther. They have the first person, like, you do hear the Falcon sort of, like, you know, is on the radio with Captain America, and, you know, kind of calls back to that joke from Winter Soldier, on your left, where, you know, Captain America would be, you know, running, sprinting, jogging, whatever you want to say, in Washington, D.C. early in the morning, and, like, he would run past Anthony Mackie, the Falcon, right? And then, like, they kind of, like, bring that back where, like, you know, Captain America would run by him and say, on your left. Well, here, you know, a Falcon says on your left. And the first person to walk out of that portal is Black Panther. Like, they really, really big up Black Panther in both Infinity War and Endgame, I think. Because that's, like, that's like, it's just, like, an iconic moment, right? Like, all the people have been snapped away. And when you see Black Panther walk out, it's like, okay. Like they're back. They're here. And then, like, you know, Black Panther, like, I don't know, that the, like, chanting, like, their battle chanting to get started and get going, like, that does, like, basically, like, give you goosebumps. Like, and Infinity War 2, it's the same thing, where, like, you know, they come, like, Thanos's, you know, people and stuff, they come to Wakanda, basically, to get the Mind Stone from Vision. That's where, you know, they're making their last stand. And then, like, you know, Black Panther getting his whole army and, like, that chanting, like, I love it. I love it. I thought that was fantastic. Obviously, Spider-Man comes back, right? We do see him. He doesn't have that much screen time, but I guess, you know, neither does Black Panther, since they're only in, what, like, the last hour of the film. Like, the final battle is what? Like, I think it starts at about the 2-hour mark and lasts for about a half hour. And then, surprisingly, there's basically, like, a half hour of, like, closure or wrap-up, you know, dealing with Tony Stark's death and all that. And, you know, Peter Parker Spider-Man, you know, he's good for when he's on screen. I guess, I should talk about Captain America. So, after everything is completed, right, they have to take the Infinity Stones back to the spots in time where they were originally taken from, because that way it would like kind of keep those timelines from then like exploding into flames, from not having the Infinity Stones anymore. The Sorcerer Supreme would be able to solve the Time Stone, things like that. So like, definitely alternate timelines kind of created. Like, it seems like the time travel here in Endgame, it is very similar to like a Dragon Ball Z style, right? Where like the character goes from the future into the past, but by changing things in the past, they don't affect where they came from. Instead, it kind of splits off like its own new, unique timeline, right? Seems as though that's what Avengers Endgame is doing too with their timeline, based upon what Bruce Banner says, as well as, what is it, the Great One or the Ancient One? Again, I always mess that up. And then, so Captain America, he's going to take not only Thor's Mjolnir back to Thor, but also the 6 Infinity Stones. He's going to take them back to the different spots in time where they were taken, right? So he heads out, and like, they prepare to bring him back in like, 5 seconds or whatever, but he does not show up. And then they turn around and they see that he's sitting there now as an old guy, like he had been there the whole time. Now, I did think that this sort of is like, it's almost like a small plot hole. Like, to me, the film was so good, like, something like I just don't care. Like, I'll talk about it, but like, this is not like really a nitpick or like even what brings on anything. Like, right now, I feel like Endgame is like my favorite movie ever. Like, that's the way I feel right now. Like, easily the best Marvel movie. I thought Infinity War is the #2 Marvel movie. Right there, right? Very exciting. So, this little scene where Captain America, I guess presumably what is going on here, talking with some of the homies, is that, so Captain America kind of creates like a time loop, because when he goes and returns to 6 Infinity Stones, he decides to stay with Agent Carter, right? And like, so I guess he lives out his whole life. Well, if you go back and look at like Winter Soldier and different like materials and stuff like that with Agent Carter, she marries someone, but it's never shown who it is. So I guess you can kind of like fill in the blank that like there were almost like 2 Captain Americas like at that point in time, because that's why he never returns, because like Captain America like lives throughout that, the like Avengers, like the MCU and stuff like that. And then when he goes back in time, he basically is not in that timeline anymore, but there still was that Captain America who had originally gone back into that timeline, right? Who then lived his life with Peggy and all that. So, while Captain America was, I don't know, fighting a Winter Soldier, the Captain America who had gone back in time, he was living out his life as an old man as well. Like, presumably, I guess that's what you can say, but I'm never a big fan of time loop type things, like in Dragon Ball Super, for example. Like, it just doesn't make sense with, like, how is Zamasu doing this when Goku Black, like, because of Goku, he became Zamasu, but that only happened because of Goku Black. Like, where does it start? Where does it end? Same thing here, like, it's a time loop. There is, like, almost, like, no start and ending. Like, it's weird. Not the biggest fan of that, but again, everything else is so good that to me it's like, whatever, I don't care. I mean, I guess here I could sort of wrap it up. Like, I talked about all the really great things. Obviously Thanos, Josh Brolin is incredible in the movie. Gamora comes back. It's kind of the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 Gamora that returns, though. So, like, Star-Lord is going to have to, like, redo his relationship with her. That was a good way to bring her back. Now, Vision gets just completely bodied. Like, he doesn't even get mentioned, really, outside of Scarlet Witch right before she fights Thanos. He does not return. He's just done. Loki is still killed as well from when Thanos took him out when he got the Tesseract at the start of Infinity War. But one interesting thing to note is that when they're going back in time, when they're in New York to get the Infinity Stones, Loki is able to teleport away with the Tesseract. So, it's going to be very interesting to see if, I don't know, that kind of creates like an alternate timeline. Is that alternate timeline Loki going to come back to the MCU? We'll see. Regardless, so, again, I thought Infinity War was incredible. It was amazing. It was fantastic. It was perfect for me. Everything was great. Iron Man's sacrifice at the end was awesome. Black Widow's sacrifice was awesome. I thought it was a great bookend to this whole MCU, which, I remember seeing Iron Man, like, first week back in 2008. Back then, you know, end credits hit, you walk out of the theater. There was no such thing basically at that point as like end credits scenes. So it was crazy, like, you know, hearing like what Sam Jackson was at the end credits scene. So going back to the theater, seeing it again, and then boom, Sam Jackson to get the MCU rolling. So good times. I thought Endgame was perfect. I thought the whole MCU was so well done. Very, very much loved it. Huge shout outs to everyone that made the movie. Absolutely loved it. Let me know what y'all think. I'll probably finish up here. Just, you know, 10 out of 10. Amazing film for me. I don't, you know, I talked about some negatives, but like it's stuff like it doesn't even really bother me. Like it's just things I noticed. The movie, I just thought the whole thing was so good. There were moments where I was filled with so much energy, so prepared by some of the stuff that it just did not bother me. So again, let me know what you guys think of the movie, and I'll catch y'all next time.